Rotarians and guests, welcome to the Rotary Club of York, by far the best Rotary Club I have ever been a member of. Well, it's true. Where our mission is to improve life in New York City by connecting our club's diverse community leaders through fellowship, action, and service. I am your club president, Aaron Jacobs, and it is a great day to be a Rotarian. I like how this club learns. But we also live out the service above self motto, and we follow the four-way test. Would you join me? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? As we begin to wind down this Rotary year, I want to say thank you to all of you for helping to bring the four-way test back into life in our club, as I believe it has truly made a big difference, and I certainly hope that you would all agree. Speaking of making a difference, here are three outstanding true Rotarians that always make a big difference and have agreed to kick off our program today. Deb Harrison will lead us in the Star-Spangled Banner and the Pledge of Allegiance. Our invocation will be delivered by past District Governor Dick Brown, and our guest will be introduced by Chad Myers. Deb.
Please join me. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red, the bombs bursting in, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us gather in prayer and reflection. As the vast farmlands all around us are putting their crops upward, we are mindful of that most precious life-sustaining element, water. We thank you for the precious rains from the skies that nurture these crops and flow through our county via the vast Susquehanna River. We thank you also for the folks among us that seek to share knowledge of the dynamics of proper water management. As Rotarians, may we be mindful of those hundreds of millions of children of God for whom obtaining just the barest essentials of clean water is a daily burden, if obtainable at all. Let us share our bounty of clean water with acts of kindness through Rotary, so that all of God's children may be healthy and prosper. Thank you for this beautiful day, for nourishing food and those who have prepared it, and most of all, for caring Rotarians. Amen.
All right, good afternoon. I am pleased to have the honor of introducing today's guests. And when I call your name, please stand, and if you're able, and remain standing until President Aaron has welcomed you to the club officially. So first is Miss Miranda Moore, Miss Pennsylvania, a guest of past President Brian Tate. She is the one with the crown on, in case you were unaware. We have Cade Probula, a guest of Ben Shipley. Cade. We have Linda Elliker, guest of past President Lou Elliker. Welcome, Linda. We have Eric Adamson, a guest of Thomas Caltagirone. And then we have James Anderson IV, who is a guest of James Anderson Jr., notably not a guest of his own father, which is suspect, but coming out of the same company budget, I guess, so it's all good. Welcome, James IV. Thank you.
Now, what I'm about to say to you is absolutely true. I was told if 50 people in this room today will agree to sign up and attend the Miss Pennsylvania pageant coming up, that I would be allowed to wear the tiara and be ridden on the shoulders of past President Brian Tate. Is it the truth? Will it build goodwill and better friendship and good shoulder muscles? Guests, there's a reason why you were invited to our program today, and it's because that there is a York Rotarian who, at the very least, thinks that you're special enough to share a great day of food, fellowship, and a wonderful program. But there's also, I hope, a good chance that they want you to become a member as well. And there's one thing that you have in common with every single person in this room, and that their Rotarian journey started as a guest just like yourself. So I hope today is the first day of your journey in becoming a lifelong Rotarian. Rotarians, let us welcome our guests today. We got announcements. The easy part of the program. Following this meeting today, all incoming committee chairs for 2024 and 25 will meet downstairs in the Mixed Grill. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, the board of directors will meet via Zoom. Today is also our AV master, I would say, Daniel Lorenzo's last day with the Rotary Club of York. Daniel has been with our club for 2 years, providing excellent service on the AV equipment, and I thought it'd be nice to give him a warm little send-off today. I'm also happy to share, if you weren't aware, that it's also Pride Month. And in honor of this, the IDEA committee has a symbolic pin available to our members and guests down in the hall table. Please help yourself to this gesture of recognition as we celebrate our efforts to make our club a diverse organization. And now, speaking of broad shoulders and tiaras, I'd like to invite past President Brian Tate to introduce our visiting dignitary. Brian.
Well, I think she's been introduced enough already, so I really don't have to go that deep. But I did want to go provide you some background. So about 5.5 years ago, Debbie Butcher, who many of you know, came to some of us, John Kleindienst, myself, other leaders in this community, with an idea about bringing a statewide event to our community. It seemed that 5.5 years ago, the former Miss Pennsylvania organization, its license had expired and an RFP was put out looking for a new team to lead the organization. Debbie had the idea to apply and build a team, and she was successful. Her proposal was accepted over many others. And so we were able to bring a statewide event to York, stealing it away from Pittsburgh. And I think that is something amazing to tout. To steal something from such a large city. But why is it important? It's important because we have so many great partners here in our York community to bring a statewide event to the city of York. We were able to bring on partners like the Wareheim Foundation, like the Appel Center, like Penn State York, like the Yorktown Hotel. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, Explore York, to bring people together, to bring other Pennsylvanians and people from other parts of the country to come to an event here in York that's multi-day. Candidates arrived on Sunday and they're here through Saturday night, Sunday morning. Their families, their friends, their fans are coming, filling the Yorktown Hotel, filling other hotels, and spending money here in our community. And I think that's fantastic. So to tell you a little bit more about that, I'd like to bring to the podium Miranda Moore, Miss Pennsylvania 2023.
I will say I have single-handedly contributed to the economy of York because I love the round-the-clock diner. So my very first meal after I won Miss Pennsylvania 360-something days ago was a gigantic waffle sundae from Round the Clock Diner, and it has been my celebration treat ever since. So whenever I need a little pick me up, you catch me in York. I'm from Harrisburg, so it's only like a 45-minute drive, so it doesn't even count. But thank you all so much for having me. I'm so excited to share a little bit about my year as Miss Pennsylvania, which truly is a year of service, and we call it that for a reason. Miss Pennsylvania, a lot of people don't know, it's actually a full-time job. So being Miss Pennsylvania has been my full-time commitment during my year of service, and I've been able to travel over 30,000 miles across the state, and I've done over 300 appearances as Miss Pennsylvania, and they've ranged from everything from visiting Rotary clubs to school visits to working with the Philadelphia Eagles. I've gotten to go all across the state and do all different types of events and service programs. And I actually have my own community service initiative that I've gotten to speak about and champion throughout my year. And it is titled Take Action in Fashion. And a lot of people don't know the fashion industry is one of the highest polluting and most dangerous industries. It's actually worse than transportation and construction. And I am an environmental engineer through my career and through my education. And when I learned the statistic, I thought, what an incredible platform that I could use to educate people, especially young women who are my target demographic, on overconsumption of fashion, the impacts of the fashion industry on our planet and our people, but more importantly, about ways to be a part of positive change through that. And I was able to create a STEM accredited education program, which I took across the state for K through 12. I've been able to build a website, partner with international brands, and even founded a National Day of Advocacy, National Take Action in Fashion Day, which is held every year on April 24th in recognition of the Rana Plaza garment collapse, which took the lives of thousands of people in Bangladesh and was really the first major garment factory collapse that made people think about the impacts and the implications of the fashion industry. And through all of these methods during my year, I've been able to reach over 60,000 unique individuals through the work that I've done to educate them on and provide them with solutions for the impacts of the fashion industry. So our organization truly is a service organization where each of our young women are able to be a part of positive change in their communities. And this week in York, we have 24 young women from all across the state of Pennsylvania representing their respective counties and communities, vying for the title of Miss Pennsylvania 2024. And we like to call it the greatest show in town because it truly is. On Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, our delegates will be competing for the titles of not only Miss Pennsylvania, but Miss Pennsylvania's teen. And you can see around 40 of the most incredible young women that Pennsylvania has to offer, sharing about their respective passions for community service, performing their talents, and sharing what's important to them and how they would serve the state of Pennsylvania if selected to be the state title holders. So it truly is going to be an incredible show. We would love to have you all there. And I know it means so much to the women who spend multiple years competing and working and advocating their communities to have a large audience there to support them and to learn about the work they do. Because I know that that one moment you get on stage where you get to educate people on what you're so passionate about and all the work you do is what makes it all worth it. If one person in the audience is inspired by or impacted by what you have to share, what an incredible platform that is. So the more people we have there to learn about the work that these young women are doing, the better. So we would absolutely love to have you all there at the Appel Center for the Performing Arts this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evening. So thank you so much. And thank you, gentlemen.
We're always blessed when we have a visiting dignitary visiting our club, and with our club's mission to improve life in the city of York and events such as Miss Pennsylvania, as past President Brian put out, it's a great way for us to show pride in our fine city and highlight the community we are fond of. And Miranda, we certainly wish you the best of luck in the future. Here's an interesting fact. Speaking of beauty pageants, you've all played Monopoly. When you land on community chest, you pick up a card that says you won second place in a beauty pageant, collect $25. That was based on the life of past President Al Sykes. And to tell us more about that, I invite him to the podium. Al, it's a long applause for you.
I like to think I'm a resident dignitary, but emphasis on dignity. 13 score and 15 years ago, our forefathers brought forth on this continent a new county, conceived in liberty, and a proposition of making our own pretzels, potato chips, and peppermint patties. We are about to engage in a great baseball game, testing whether this team or any team can long prevail against those evil empires from the east side of the river. So show your mettle and come join the fray so that baseball of the people, by the people, yeah, well, not exactly, and for the people shall triumph on the earth. Come join us on Tuesday evening, July the 2nd at Wellspan Park for food, fellowship, and fun as we graciously host those folks from the Lancaster Rotary Club and then watch them as we put a beating on their stormers. The cost, because Liberty and baseball are not free, is $39 plus $11 per person if you wish to make this an eradicate polio event. I also have received graciously permission from our president and president-elect that we can offer a special price of $12 for children under 12, because obviously we would like to have parents have the opportunity to bring the kids, and $40 a pop isn't hay. So please contact Lynn for your reservation, and I will personally meet you in front of the York sign at the main entrance to Wellspan Park. Again, the date of the game is July 2nd, but we would like to have your reservation in by June 26th. That's a Wednesday. Obviously, because we need to get an account and to let the reps know how many people we have coming. So again, July 2nd, let's put a beat down on the Stormers. Thank you.
Great, and thank you, Past President Al. And it's time now for our final President's Challenge committee presentation of the year today. And some may say that we saved the best for last. Today's President Challenge comes from the Literacy Committee, and I invite Brian Grimm to the podium to make you aware of their function, their impact, and to encourage you to join this committee. Brian, won't you step on up?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for giving me a couple minutes here, President Aaron. We are the Literacy Committee. We are up to 12 mighty members, up from about 7 in June. So we are a growing group of folks. Our focus is to provide literacy information to the club that benefits children, basically in the early education space. We provide books for different organizations, everything from the YMCA to York Day to the JCC. We have provided books over the years. Thousands and thousands of books have gone into children's hands because of the drive that we do in March. So we are always looking for more members. If you have any questions or would like to join, are there any members here? Any literacy community members? Oh, there's 1, 2, 3. Yeah. All right, good. So we're always looking for more members, and we appreciate your support of this group. Our drive usually goes in March, through the month of March, and we present the check in April. This past one we gave to the YWCA. So with that, I'll give it back to you, Aaron. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian, and all committee members. Keep up the good work. And speaking of good work, I'd like to invite Steve Feldman to the podium to make a Legacy Committee announcement. Steve.
Today, I come before you to express gratitude to a new member of the York Rotary Foundation's Legacy Society. If Rodgers and Hammerstein were composing today and were writing Oklahoma about Ken Cooper, the song would have been titled, "I'm Just a Boy Who Can't Say No." Or to put it in his words, Ken is a guy who is not good at sitting around. Ken Cooper enjoyed a career in research and manufacturing that included time at Borg Warner and the co-founding and head of engineering position at Poolpack Corporation. He retired from working for pay in 2010, but that didn't stop him from continuing to work on behalf of others. As a Rotarian, Ken chaired a number of committees and has served on so many others he can't remember them all. He chaired the club's first website committee and for many years was our go-to person for audio-visual support at meetings. If a speaker had a PowerPoint, Ken was your guy. He and his son often helped out the office staff with computer problems as we transitioned into the wired era. But what I found most interesting was the variety of committees in which Ken got involved. Things he said he just found interesting, like youth development, youth literacy, the IDEA Committee, local grants and global grants, just to name a few. He told me I get an email to show up for a meeting and I go. Committee chair people take note. One area that Ken has a very high degree of respect for is the foundation's non-traditional student scholarship program. He said it takes guts to try and lift yourself up later in life. And so he has targeted a bequest in his estate planning to provide additional support for this unusual and deeply needed educational opportunity. A second bequest will go directly to the Rotary Foundation, reflecting his interest in global grants. Ken is taking advantage of a very tax-efficient method to fund his Rotary gifts by utilizing his IRA. When you make a legacy gift to Rotary, you and other club members support service both here at home and across the globe, and across generations, making it possible for Rotary to always be there. Our club's foundation and the Rotary Foundation provide lasting resources needed to tackle the challenges of tomorrow and create long-term hope, both in the York community and around the world. Rotarians, please help me express our thanks to Rotarian Ken Cooper.
You know, a couple of years ago, Bill Hartman gets full credit for coining the phrase outstanding true Rotarian. I've done my best during my year to solidify that into our club's lexicon, but it takes somebody like Ken Cooper to actually live that out. And it's with great pride that we honor our esteemed member for his remarkable legacy gift. Ken's generosity exemplifies the true spirit of Rotary, ensuring our mission thrives for generations to come. His vision and dedication are inspiring, reflecting his unwavering commitment to our community. And we are deeply grateful for the profound impact that you've had, not only in this gift, but with our club. Let's give one more round of applause for Ken Cooper. I'd like to get on with our program today and invite the chairperson of the Preserve Planet Earth Committee, Joe Stein, to introduce our speakers. Joe.
Thank you, President Aaron. And thank you to John Kleindens for proposing this program today. Unfortunately, he could not be here, so he gave me the honor of introducing our speakers today. Today with us is Ted Evgeniadis, serves as the Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper and works as an alliance builder, diplomat, and educator, but also, when the situation calls for it, an unrelenting defender and advocate of our right and the river's right to be healthy and prosperous. Ted utilizes education, chemical and biological monitoring, pollution patrols, partnership building, public events, research, and legal action to improve the health of the Susquehanna's waterways, even for those people on the Lancaster side. He assists the government by reporting non-compliance of the law and follows through where environmental protection agencies are unable to do their job due to politics or funding issues. Also with us is Devin Winand, who is a sixth-generation river rat who has spent a large majority of his life working with his parents, Liz and Steve Winand, in their family business, Shank's Mare's Outfitters. With Liz and Steve's recent retirement and closing of Shank's Mare, Devin has made the transition to become the Deputy Director of the Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper Association. This role allows him to use his decades of experience educating both adults and children on the importance of the Susquehanna River. The role also provides him an opportunity to work with a team of people that care deeply about the health of the river and the benefits it provides to our entire region. Ted and Devin will discuss the history of both Shank's Mare's Outfitters and Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper Association, the recent opportunity for LSRA to continue outdoor education programming that has introduced over 30,000 area students to the Susquehanna River, programming that aligns perfectly with our mission. And to speak further about that, Ted and Devin, thank you.
Well, first thing I want to do is, my name's Ted Evgeniadis. Thanks for having me. It's Devin Winand's birthday today, so happy birthday to Devin. Had to do it. So thanks, Devin, for joining me on your birthday. Again, my name's Ted. I serve as the Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper. I'm also the executive director for the Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper Association. I'm going to ask for a little bit of play along with me here, if you will. So I'm going to ask a couple questions and I want everyone to raise their hands, or don't raise your hands if you don't know the answer. First question is, has anyone in this room heard about the Waterkeeper movement? Okay, that's good. How about the Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper Association? Who's heard of that? More hands, that's good. How about, this is the best question, who in this room believes that we need to protect and serve the Lower Susquehanna River for now and for future generations? I'm going to assume that everybody's hand is up. I'm not going to call the people's hands that you didn't raise their hand, because we all know that the Lower Susquehanna River and the Susquehanna River in general needs protection. And I'm going to go into a little bit about that. 20 minutes here today, Devin and I have. It's not going to even scratch the surface about the issues that we're working on and the programs that we're delivering for our communities. But we're going to do our best to give you a general brief background. And again, at the end, I'd ask if you have questions, raise them, ask them. If you can't get to your questions today, there'll be contact information on the screen. Feel free to contact me or Devin, and you can ask any questions you'd like. At least I am available all the time, because this job is all the time. The river continuously flows. Issues are going to always arise, and it's up to us, and it's our job to make sure that those issues are kept in check, and that we are managing and looking at everything that's coming down the Susquehanna River. So what I want to do for you today is just give you a brief background. What is Waterkeeper? What are we doing? What is this all about? I know some of you raised your hands and you said you knew, but there's some folks in here who don't know. So we're all about advocacy and policy enforcement, and stewardship and education. A little bit about the history. So Waterkeeper Alliance was an organization that was formed in the late 90s. And the reason why they were formed was because of the work that was done in the Hudson River back in the 1960s. In the 1960s, the Hudson River was probably one of the most polluted rivers in the entire country. It was made fun of on Saturday Night Live. It got a lot of attention due to the pollution that was there. You had industries like coal-fired power plants, wastewater treatment plants, textile industries, like we just heard about, oil and gas, the railroad industries. And all of these industries were, because this was pre-Clean Water Act, they were just dumping their pollution right into the Hudson River. It was at that time that a group of fishermen banded together and decided to do something about it. That pollution was affecting their ability to harvest shellfish, to fish for other species. And with that, they did a lot of research, a lot of investigations. And at that time, in the 1960s, we had one law in the books, and that was the Rivers and Harbors Act. And they used that law to go after these polluters, and they were successful. And they wound up getting bounties, and they wound up buying equipment and boats and bringing on more people and, folks that were, attorneys. And at that time in the 80s, the Hudson Riverkeeper was actually officially formed. And all that work that was done from the 60s to the 80s, that was very attractive to a lot of other water bodies across the country. So other waterkeeper groups then formed: San Francisco Baykeeper, Delaware Riverkeeper, Hackensack Riverkeeper. And that model then progressed. And it was basically, there was one advocate that sought out the water body and made sure that polluters were held accountable. And so in the 90s, Waterkeeper Alliance was formed to essentially license out waterkeepers. So in 2005, and just a brief history of us, the Cadorus Creek Improvement Partnership was kind of the stepping stone for our organization. And my predecessor, Michael Helfrich, who's now the York City mayor, started this organization in 2006. So since 2006, we've been here protecting the Susquehanna River and making sure that polluters are held accountable to the laws that we have on the books. We have a lot of laws on the books. I'm not going to go into any of that today because there's not enough time. But let's just say we do have laws in place that protect our rights to clean water. And in the state of Pennsylvania, we're actually very, very fortunate because we have an environmental rights amendment in our state constitution. You can look it up. It's Article 1, Section 27. It basically says that we are granted a right to clean water and clean air and a healthy environment. How often does that right get stripped away from us? I can give you a lot of examples, and it's happening all the time. Again, Waterkeeper Alliance was formed to create a network of support for waterkeepers all around the world. And today we have over 320 waterkeeper groups on 6 continents protecting over 6 million square miles of water. What do? So we stop pollution in the Susquehanna River and its creeks by monitoring and patrolling for pollution. And that likes to keep skipping. I don't know why. We insist that laws are enforced by regulators, and we also enforce the law when our state and federal agencies fail to do so. We also use science. We build coalitions and we file reviews. We're the ones that are looking at the permits. You know, are permits coming up? Are they being reissued? Are they being renewed? That's okay. The next slide on there is going to be the map of our territory. And you can go right back to that map. So basically, we have an 8,500 square mile territory. We start in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania, just below Selinsgrove, where Penns Creek dumps into the river, all the way down to Havre de Grace at the Chesapeake Bay. And so it's about 8,500 square miles. It also includes the Juniata watershed as well. And so the last couple of years, I came on in 2017, and since 2017, we've taken on a lot of different issues. One of the first issues that I started looking at was the coal-fired power plant Burner Island, which is a stone's throw away from my house. I figured since I can see the smokestack, I might as well do some investigation and figure out what's going on around there. And what we found, there was a lot of pollution going on. There was unpermitted discharges of toxic coal ash and toxic waste that was entering the river. And we wound up filing a lawsuit against the company. And what came of that lawsuit was a historic settlement, which provided for a $1 million fine, biggest fine ever imposed in Pennsylvania. And we also had the company clean up the site. So right now, the entire one of their active ash basins is now being excavated, and all that ash is being removed, and it's going to be repurposed into lightweight aggregate and other products. So removing coal ash from a site is super important. We got that job done, and it's now continuing as time goes on now till about 2030. So these are a lot of issues here that we are dealing with. We have non-point source issues and point source points of pollution. And, you know, as we heard before, you know, agricultural runoff, stormwater runoff, development and land use are huge issues for us around this region. We're seeing warehouses being developed every other day. You know, we're seeing highways put in when they shouldn't be. We're also seeing a lot of point source discharges. I'm sure a lot of people may have heard of, you know, sewage flowing from Harrisburg or leachate, you know, dumping out of the modern landfill into Croix Creek. You know, these are big issues that we're taking on and we're taking a look at. So I did mention some laws. We do have a couple laws that are on the books. We have the PA Clean Streams Law in Pennsylvania. We have the Stormwater Management Act. We also have the Safe Drinking Water Act as well. Federally and nationally, we have the Clean Water Act, the National Environmental Policy Act, and the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act. And these are the tools that we use. These are the laws that we use to make sure that that companies and municipalities and and others are following the law the way they should be. So there's a lot of issues that we are working on. Everything from coal ash contamination, combined sewer overflows, hydroelectric dam licensing, all the way down to some of the stuff that we see right in front of our faces, which is pollution that we see along the river's edges. So we do a lot of cleanups. We have a very dedicated cleanup program that we're picking single-use plastics. So we have that part of it too. But a lot of the work that we do is around making sure that that folks out there are following the law. Some of you may have heard of Cuffs Run. It's a proposed pump storage hydro plant on the Susquehanna River. We are challenging that along with other partners. And that's an issue that we're still waiting on a decision on. Hopefully we don't see that happen, but that's a major issue that we are working on. And I'm going to time check myself because I know we're going to run out of time pretty quick. But there are a lot of issues. Cuffs Run, that's one. Red Line Country Club, that was a proposed development on Barshinger Creek, which would have definitely affected Barshinger Creek, which is a tributary which flows into the east branch of the Cadorus Creek, which that then flows into Lake Redmond, which is our source of drinking water. So we want to make sure that our sources of drinking water are definitely protected. That way our York Water Company does not have to spend more money to treat for additional pollutants when we should be protecting it. We've done a lot of work with partnering with other local organizations to provide rehabilitation on the Conestoga River as well. We touched on the landfill. We're seeing the landfill. There's some issues there. We actually just heard about a tanker spill about last weekend, right around in Helen Township. We're seeing sewage overflowing from our state capitol. We've had some victories. We actually we had an issue at a poultry rendering facility in Lebanon County. We filed a lawsuit against them. Winded up having $1 million fine and penalty that was imposed. And all of that money went towards a local stream restoration in York County, Lancaster County, and Lebanon County. And the owners of the company, obviously, they fixed the issues that were going on there at the facility as well. Conowingo Dam, we also are heavily involved in hydroelectric dam relicensing. Conowingo, that's my call. Thank you. I am gonna breeze through this because there's a lot of cool things that we are doing and that we're gonna be continuing to expand upon. And I want to bring Devin up to explain a little bit about some of the programs that we're doing right now. It's been a dream of mine to start a bacteria monitoring program, which Devin can get to in a second. And we actually hired some staff and we got that program up and running. So if you check out our Facebook pages and our website and an app called Swim Guide, you can see multiple sites around the area that Devin will explain, but really cool program that we're now running. And Devin, if you want to come up and explain a little bit about our programs.
Hello, thank you. So Ted went over kind of the litigious end of our work, which is very necessary and very important to get things accomplished. But we also have a programmatic and educational end of what we do as well. Some of those programs are things like microplastic monitoring. Microplastics are in virtually everything at this point. So we've got the capability of pooling water samples, looking at them and seeing how much plastic is in there. So it's educating people of what they're potentially consuming and ways that they can potentially help prevent those microplastics from ending up in the water. The program that Ted mentioned is Water Watchdogs bacteria monitoring. And this kind of crosses over a couple things. One, it's educating people. It's educating people on the bacteria that might be in that water. It's giving them the knowledge that they need if they're going to go out and recreate in their local bodies of water. So what we do is we have a group of volunteers that this year we're up to 15 sites. Last year we started with 5 sites, and I think this year we're up to 15 sites. Volunteers travel around York and Lancaster County, take samples weekly. They're taking samples on Thursday. We have the ability to process those samples and release the results come Friday, so that come Saturday and Sunday, when people are out recreating in their local bodies of water, they know what the bacteria levels are like, because bacteria levels change constantly. We get heavy rains, bacteria levels go up. It stays drier, they stay a little bit lower. So we're trying to educate the public on what it is that they fall off their kayak or their paddleboard and they take a good mouthful of water in. Is that water safe or not? So the bacteria monitoring program is a good way to connect with the community and give them the information they need to be safe out there on the water. One thing that we realized as an organization from an education standpoint is a lot of our educational programs, while public facing, were mostly adult facing, citizen science based. We really didn't have ways to connect with the younger community, the future stewards of our watershed. Shank's Mare Outfitters was my family business. My parents, Liz and Steve, started it in 1978, downtown York on South Pershing Avenue. They started it out of a love for the outdoors. It was things that they already did. They wanted to show people, good equipment to go do those activities, provide them with the skills to go out and safely enjoy them. But it was also very important for them to establish a sense of place. If you're doing those outdoor activities, you need a good environment to go do them in. So everything that they did, whether it was selling the products, teaching the skills, they always instilled that sense of place, with it. And for a long time, that was downtown York, which is where the store was. We always had a facility on the Susquehanna River, though. Even when the store was downtown, we had a satellite facility on the Susquehanna. So the Susquehanna was always very close and near and dear to the work that we did. Whether it was a good business model or not, all of our sales were always done through education, educating people on what it is that they needed, what they didn't need in some cases. We kind of joked like, how much money do we turn away because we talked somebody out of a product that they didn't necessarily need. But again, it was introducing the people to do it safely. It was creating that sense of place so that they could go out and enjoy it for years to come and hopefully generations to come as well. So you can see, I went through the archives and found some old pictures of various activities over the years that we helped people get started in. Our outdoor education program started in the mid-90s. We were running a concession up at Cadora State Park, food concession, and also windsurfing and kayaking up there. And we decided to start, incorporating the youth into it. Some of the original kids campers are now, have almost adult children of their own. So they've been at it for a while. The kids camp program evolved into a outdoor education program when we moved the store down to the Susquehanna River, down to Long Level. Late 90s, I think it was around 98 or so, we started the field trip program, bringing area students down to take them out kayaking, give them that experience on the water, and also take them in doing stream studies, teaching them about macroinvertebrates, water quality, with the overall goal of having them leave with an experience on the river. And over the years, over the course of 25 years of doing that, over 30,000 students run through the program. We were fortunate enough to have students, adults, come into the store and say that their favorite field trip that they ever went on 20 years ago was that field trip. So that feels good that you're, making that impact, that somebody through the course of their life, they remember that day out on the river. So that provided an opportunity. As my parents were ready to retire, one of the biggest things that we didn't want to see go away was that educational opportunity. We have schools that have depended on it, some of them for decades, have been coming to that program and bringing their students involved. So while the store was closing, we didn't want to see an end to that educational programming. So that's where LSRA came in. We saw a perfect opportunity, a symbiotic relationship that could happen where we need to teach people how to protect the river, how important the river is. We've got this program that can do that can help educate these future stewards and get them out on the water. And a agreement was made. I joke that I was part of that agreement, so I kind of got sold with the educational programming. But it's great. The river, is important to us first and foremost. So the more that we can expose the next generations to the river and give them that experience, while they might not all end up fighting for the health of the river, we're looking for those couple that really appreciated it, really, maybe set the groundwork for what they want to do in the future. So that was how we made that transition. I'm very happy to be on board with the organization. I'm learning a lot. Through the month of May, we had those field trip kids come back. So in 1 month, we're up to almost 730 kids that have run through our program as Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper Association. By the end of the year, we're looking at probably 1,300 to 1,500 more kids. And then the idea is to just continue to build on that. Now that we're not running a retail store anymore, it gives more opportunity to get out there and do that educating, getting into the classrooms and helping teach them. So looking forward to the future. Our main focus is initially starting with these schools and districts that do touch the river, whether that's your county or Lancaster County, as it sounds like it's kind of a bad word. But the river is important to all of us, and we really want to look at the river as something that brings us together versus something that divides us. It's important to us as an organization, and as Ted said, it really should be to everybody as well. So on that, we'll open it up to questions if anybody has anything specific.
Can you give us a progress report, and I bracket that word progress, update on the silt backup and the problem with Conowingo Dam? Is anything being done?
That's Ted's every day, so I'm going to let him take that one.
Thanks, Al. Yeah, it's a good question because it's been going on for 15 years. Just about 2009 was when our organization first started working on Conowingo Dam, and we've been through a lot since that time. So most recently what happened was, just to make a long story short, because it's 15 years of stories and I don't have maybe 2 minutes to tell you that. And from 2018, when Maryland put forth a water quality certification, there was a lot of legal disputes over that certification. It was at that time that we also appealed the certification due to a couple reasons. Where we didn't see other NGOs do any appealing, it was mostly us and Waterkeepers Chesapeake. And then in 2019, the state of Maryland and at that time Exelon put together a settlement agreement, which was woefully inadequate. And then they took that settlement agreement, put it into the federal license for the dam to operate for 50 years. And I don't know about you guys, but 50 years is a long time. I'm probably not going to be alive, and no offense, a lot of the people in this room aren't going to be alive in 50 years. It's a lifetime. It's a generation lifetime. So it's so super important and crucial that we get it right now. And so what we did as an organization was we filed legal action against that decision for the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission putting that settlement agreement into the federal license. And so what happened from our legal action was the DC Circuit Court of Appeals heard our case and came back to say that, yes, what they did was illegal, and that the license is now vacated and remanded back down to FERC. So since Maryland had put forth the water quality certification in 2018, and we appealed it, and also Exelon appealed it, now we're in what's called a reconsideration period. So our organization, my partner, Waterkeepers Chesapeake, Constellation Energy, and the state of Maryland are now in mediated discussions. So we've already had 2 mediations. So we have a hired mediator, and we're having these discussions to hopefully negotiate another water quality certification. And that could take 3 months, 6 months. We could have one more meeting and we all go our separate ways. So we don't know how long it's going to take, but it could be quite a bit, 3 to 6 months at least. And at that time, hopefully at the end of those discussions, we have a fair deal for the Conowingo Dam that has all representation from all parties, from all the NGOs, from the state itself. So more to come, but right now we are directly involved. And right now, out of all the NGOs in the entire world, it's Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper and Waterkeepers Chesapeake that has a seat at the table.
I have 2 quick questions. First, I'm unclear as to how the Lower Susquehanna Riverkeeper Association is funded, coming from the state of Pennsylvania, or that's a simple question. The second question is, on the Cuffs Run, I'm unclear as to who is doing that and what is the progress or non-progress. I don't know who the entities are and how that is happening. Can you give us a 1-minute answer on that?
Sure. Funding wise for the organization, we're supported by donations, membership dues. So we are membership supported, membership based organization. When we take legal action to improve the health of our river, we do that on behalf of our members. So if you have a creek flow in your backyard, it becomes polluted, and you come to us and say, hey, Ted, we got to go after that polluter. We represent you essentially in a case. So membership dues, also grants. So we do get grants. And any income we get from events and things like that, we don't receive so much state or federal support. mostly private foundational support. For Cuffs Run, you know, the company is called York Energy Storage, and the gentleman who's in charge, who heads the company, he actually already submitted a proposal for this site 30 years ago. So it's the same gentleman and essentially the same team from back in the 1990s that proposed the same idea for a pump storage project. So now this year, with the help of other partners, we went through a comment period. There's a preliminary permit that's on the table. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission has to essentially approve or deny that permit. But again, between the help of partners and our organization, we had over 1,000 comments that were delivered to FERC, basically in opposition, along with every single legislator in York and Lancaster counties. So there was also, at the last day of the comment period, Brookfield Energy, who owns and operates the Safe Harbor Dam, they basically said that they did not want to see the preliminary permit and they wanted to see FERC deny it. And under the Federal Power Act, if you have a project that's taking place on another project's territory or grounds, you're going to have to get the sign off from, in this case, Brookfield. And Brookfield did not give the sign off. So we hope that the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission denies the permit and we can go about our way. What we also hope too is that in their order that they basically say never again, because we've seen the same proposition and proposal four times now. And in this order that FERC will give, we hope they say, you know, because FERC has the ability to say never again. They can do that. So we're hoping that they do that, at least at least deny it.
Thanks, both of you, for all you're doing for our river. Can you give me an idea of how you measure progress? How do you measure the health of the river and that what you're doing is making an impact, or what we've been doing over years is making an impact?
Well, you know, it depends how large you want to see things. Like you could take an idea of saying, and Devin can attest to this too, you know, just in the Lake Clark area and all the areas south of there, you can look at the aquatic vegetation and say, hey, the aquatic vegetation is back. It's growing. You have multiple species of it. Is that a good sign? Yes. Is that going to be better for the aquatic species and for the fish? Yes. Are we seeing nitrates and those sorts of things go down, or phosphorus? Right now in York County, we have 24-hour monitors from the USGS. So we have stations on, you know, major tributaries like the Cadorus and Fishing Creek and others, where we're collecting all day long, 24/7 water quality data. So that's been happening now for the last couple of years. I would say give it another couple of years. And at the end of time, at the end of maybe 5, 6, 7 years, we'd be able to see a trend to see that, yes, our, you know, nitrates are going down or phosphorus is going down. So we'll be able to have that real-time data and see that. You know, with as far as the Chesapeake Bay goes and what our you know, priorities are and responsibilities are to basically conform to the Chesapeake Bay pollution diet. You know, there are a lot of groups all around that are putting trees in the ground, that are doing stream restoration projects, you know, that are building riparian buffers and greenscapes and turning urban spaces into urban green spaces. And so there's a lot of things, there's a lot of work that's being done right now to improve the health of our river. And I'm going to say that, yes, you know, as we see these projects continue, water quality will be improved. Along with the work that I do, water quality will be improved. I mean, you know, a lot of the cases that we're working on right now are egregious. You know, these polluters are, you know, they don't want to take responsibility for their actions. They don't want to say that they're doing wrong. And at the end of the day, when our state agencies and federal agencies fail to do their jobs, and it's groups like ours to essentially do their job for them, you know, we're going to see a lot of improvements there too with facilities that are violating the law. So in a combination of a lot of different things, yes, you know, we're seeing water quality improved. I'm sure, and I'm not from this area, and I'm not that old, but I haven't been here for maybe 15 years, but I'm sure there's people that can say 30 years ago when they were in the river, and maybe if it was a little bit dirtier back then compared to how clean it is now, I'm sure there's people in this room that can attest to that, right? So progress is being made and improvement of the river is happening.
Testing. There we go. Do you test for the forever chemicals, PFAS chemicals?
I was going to get to that in my discussions because I did want to tell this room, you know, we have an emerging threat. It's a threat to all of our health in this room. PFAS, per and polyfluorinated compounds, forever chemicals, whatever you want to call them, are in basically everything. And how do we manage that? Everything from your, you know, non-stick cookware to the wrapper that you get from McDonald's to the wax that you put on your ski or snowboards. I mean, it is in a lot of different things. And so we're seeing it not just in our bodies right now, but we're seeing it applied to farm fields. You know, biosolids and sludge that's taken from our wastewater treatment plants, which has high concentrations of PFAS, is being sprayed onto the farm fields where we get our food. And I'll just wait for the silence. Because it's alarming. It's scary. Like, it is scary times between the microplastics that we're now monitoring for and PFAS. But to answer your question, we are looking at that. So we have probably one of the first lawsuits for PFAS. When we sued Modern Landfill, we included violations for PFAS there too. We probably have one of the only state issued permits, hopefully here, once it's approved and finalized, that the company will have to actually monitor for PFAS. So you don't see a lot of that happening. What we're trying to do now is to, you know, we have drinking water standards that are now in place, but what we now have to see too is industrial applications as well, and making sure that industries are being held accountable as well, in addition to drinking water authorities and et cetera. Right now we are sampling well water in different places. We're going to be taking a look at how that sludge is being applied onto farm fields across the lower Susquehanna River region. We're going to be doing soil testing. We're going to be doing well testing next to those places to make sure that people's wells are actually in fact clean. You know, so there's a lot to do around PFAS, a lot. And right now, you know, it's a struggle for us to do testing. Testing is very expensive. You know, one test could be anywhere from, you know, $300 to $400 a test. Right now, we're using a company. Luckily for us, we do have a company that we partner with. They have very low cost testing, anywhere from $70 to $80. That gets us an idea, right? So if we were to take action against, you know, a company for PFAS or something like that, we can use that as a screener and then take additional sampling, you know, that's using a lab where EPA has an accredited program. So it is everywhere, and we are looking at it. It is one of the top issues we're working on right now.
Sometimes I think we forget how rich that both our city and our county are in the resource of water. And we just assume that our citizens and industries are being good stewards of this life resource. But thanks to the work of Ted and Devin, we know that there is a committed group of water health advocates to keep our bodies and environments safe. Never forget, however, that water quality is a group effort and that the small things that each of us do really matters. Fellas, keep up the good work and thank you for all that you do. In honor of the program today, they have signed the book plate in The Wonderful Things You Will Be by Emily Winfield Martin and will be donated to the Crispus Attucks York Center along with the bookmark made by students from Creative York. Next week, I got two good announcements. One is the program. We will hear from Katie Caples from ECHO, otherwise known as Every Child Has Opportunities, a new early childhood education initiative in response to the early childhood education crisis we face as a community. Led by the Community Connections for Children and York County Economic Alliance, ECHO's goal is to increase the number of children, particularly low-income children, served in high-quality early childhood education programs in York County. Katie, the ECHO director, will share how ECHO is strengthening the early childhood education ecosystems in York County, along with an invitation to join the conversation. In addition to that, you will get a break from me next week as President-elect Courtney will be running the meeting to get a feel for her new job while allowing me time to travel with my family. I will return on June 26th for the changing of the guard to share my final thoughts and pass the torch to our incoming president. Have an amazing Rotarian week. This meeting is adjourned.